Welcome, everybody. I'm very pleased to be have this opportunity to talk with you a little bit and discuss some of our Productivity Now and specifically drill into a little bit of information around how our Productivity Now solution can help not only in the ongoing training of employees, but also in the helping you to hire the right people, making good selections as far as that process goes, and then how it all leads in the end to hopefully happier employees and better employee retention throughout. So to jump into it, just a real quick overview. We're going to talk just a little bit about some industry trends and things that we've seen in the workplace, and then I'll be giving you an overview of the Productivity Now system and how it can help with the items discussed. And then, as Cassie mentioned, at the end, we will have a Q&A session. So if there are any questions, please feel free to type them in or get them to us, and we will address them at the end. So as my name is, like I said, is Kevin Keeker. I am the Vice President of Training and Support Solutions here with IMAGINiT Technologies. In this role, I'm leading the direction not only for our e-learning programs and those types of electronic delivery, but also our instructor-led training, as well as our support group. And I've been in the industry for a little over 25 years now, and have spent the last 12 with a heavy focus in the learning and professional development sides of our business. So in my role, I talk to our clients on a daily basis, and I'm always asking the question, what's your priorities, what's your goals for the year, and also asking, what kind of roadblocks or what's the biggest issues, challenges you're running to be able to accomplish your goals. And in that, I always get the answer of, well, we have opportunities to grow our business, but, and there's always a but. And it seems like the behind the scenes, it always comes down to one of a few items. I need more staff, but I can't recruit them, I can't interview, and I can't figure out who the right people are to hire to bring them in quick enough. Or I've got new hires, I get them on board, but once they get here, the level of knowledge that we thought they had, there's a disconnect, and now I got to spend a lot of time getting them up to speed. Or, ultimately, people are struggling to use the tools, and they feel they've got the staff, the people that they need, but they just don't quite have the level of skills to be able to be as effective and efficient as they need to be. And then the ultimate one that we hear day in and day out, and especially in the, as the economy's been doing well and the labor market's been tight, competitors are continually trying to steal my good people. I can't afford to lose these key people. What can I do to help drive that and keep that together? And to me, all of these issues are somewhat related, excuse me, as a good interview/hiring process linked to a good professional development program can really help address every one of these items. Sorry, excuse me, I had to take a little drink there. As we look at these types of issues and we look at, what can be done in the marketplace. So there's been a ton of research done around how do companies retain employees, what matters to the employees so that they can be more happy and more likely to stay. And, according to research, one of the top items that, employees consider is their professional development opportunities. What are they getting as opportunities to grow, not necessarily just their knowledge, but opportunities to grow their skill set, do new things, and to just be able to continue to add value to themselves and to the company. And along those lines, 70, one of the stats I love to look at is, 70% of employees surveyed said that job-related training and these professional development opportunities directly influenced that decision as to whether they were going to stay or go looking for opportunities to go somewhere else. And along those lines, other research has shown that, employees really do love that opportunity to learn. Especially as we start looking into, the newer generation and the millennials, several different surveys out there have shown that over 87% of them believe that professional development, career growth is extremely important to them, and it's a priority when they're looking for where they're going to go. So with that said, you know, a lot of companies have started integrating some type of e-learning programs into their business plan and into their professional development policies and such to try and provide that type of opportunity to their employees. And with that, as you can see by the numbers here, a very large percentage of those companies believe that a well thought out, a good program has led to a competitive advantage, both in hiring better people, but also a better quality of deliverable, better work product. And, you know, almost 50% of them believe it has led to a direct increase in their revenue because they could either charge higher rates, they could be more efficient and get more work out the door, or a combination of those things. So if I'd stop at this point, you'd go, well, God, any e-learning program is great. We should just go that direction. Well, that's not totally true. You know, there's a lot of research out there as well around employees that are given training. How do they adapt it? How do they put that work in, that knowledge to use? And the latest surveys out there are showing that learners are only putting about 12% of what they've learned in a class to real use. So ultimately, you know, we've got to find a way to drive that retention higher, to get them to interact more and give them more opportunities to put that in use. But we've also got to be very careful in that how we craft these programs, how the content is delivered, and making it very readily available to them. You know, as such, you know, the e-learning programs have led to anywhere from a 25 to 60% increase in those users putting that knowledge to practical use, mostly because it's available to them as they need it, when they need it. So they don't have to go sit in a class and get, you know, drink from that fire hose type experience and hope they retain, how do I apply all this? They can do it in small, bite-sized pieces. They can, as long as the content is relevant to the type of work they're doing, they can go back and refer back to that and refresh their memory and keep putting that new knowledge and the new functions into use. And that's where we believe our ProductivityNOW solution is very unique in the marketplace for the CAD users especially. We have done a great deal of work behind the scenes, not only looking for a solution that would help address our clients' questions to us, but looking internally at our own organization and figuring out what do we need a system to do so that we can properly train and continue to develop our own employees. And I looked at that a couple of years ago and I'm sitting here going, well, this all relates exactly to the same things our clients need. And so a lot of this program that we're going to be talking about today has been developed over many years of that type of research, but also looking at how do I apply that internally and making sure that that's relevant, because if it's relevant for us, I'm sure it also will apply to a lot of the other organizations as such in the CAD market space. So as such, so let's talk a little bit from a high level of what is ProductivityNOW. ProductivityNOW, it's more than just an e-learning tool. It is a platform that allows for the integration of learning throughout an employee's life cycle in an organization. So it starts at the very beginning with giving you additional tools to help you interview and help try and determine, is this person the right fit for our organization? Do they have the knowledge and the background we need? To giving tools to train those new employees that maybe the right person is someone I got to teach from scratch. So I need very formalized learning paths and tracks for these users to go through, as well as a tool that can very targeted go after existing users and assess their current level and target then learning to those skill gaps. In addition, it gives a knowledge capture system where every company can go in and create their own content, or take the content that we're providing to you as the standard content, manipulate it, customize it, tweak it to fit your particular workflows, your particular structure and organization, as well as your power users can document standard workflows and things specific to your organization, publish it to your organization where it's indexed very easily and quickly able to be searched and found, and so that new users or even existing users that maybe don't do this process every day have a consistent set of instructions or a order of events to make sure that things are getting done correctly. And ultimately, all of it leads to it's an increased productivity platform. In addition to having the e-learning materials and the ability to customize that, we also provide technical support direct to the end users so that your end users don't necessarily have to keep going and bothering, or I shouldn't say bothering, but interrupting your power users and some of your most productive users in the organization. They can go to the reference library, find a solution. If they don't find it, ping our support desk before having to come and interrupt, your most valuable people. So as I mentioned, there's a few primary components of our ProductivityNOW system. Of course, it's based on the e-learning materials, which we have an extensive library of video content, as well as content based on the Autodesk official training guides that were produced by Ascent. And that content is also the content that is utilized in most of the Autodesk authorized training centers around North America as their standard curriculum for teaching users how to use the software. Partner together with technical support, and then in addition, you have access to additional tools that can be brought in, cheat sheets, additional videos, quick topics that you can publish or you can use our standard content to get to your users, in addition to productivity tools that are available to our clients that use this. And they're quick hit tools that help automate a lot of redundant tasks, especially in the Revit and Civil 3D worlds and Vault. And then finally, one of the areas that I'm going to spend a fair amount of time on today is talking about our integration with KnowledgeSmart. KnowledgeSmart is a industry standard, CAD industry standard knowledge assessment tool, 100% web-based, that we have written a heavy integration with that can help on both the front end assessing of potential hires, as well as help you assess your current work team, your current employee base, and can, if you want, enable it to create customized learning paths. And it's one of the top included add-on modules to our ProductivityNOW solution. So to talk, high level, what is ProductivityNOW? What is the platform? So it's a 100% hosted online system. It has an extensive LMS background in it, so it allows for learners' activity to be tracked and reported on, and for managers to manage their users as they're going through learning content. One of the unique things is, as I mentioned a moment ago, is our content is arranged and configured to support multiple learning modalities. Everybody doesn't learn the same way. Some need to read the text, the theory behind it. Others need to see it demonstrated. Most everybody needs to then put that content or that knowledge of those tools to use. So we provide, as I mentioned, the written content, the background, the theory, explanation, as well as video content that demonstrates the function and gives additional, instructor-type perspectives on those functions, as well as practice exercises so that a user, as they're going through this learning material, can download a data set and do their experimentation, put that knowledge, new gained knowledge to use, in a controlled environment without having to worry about, experimenting in one of your production drawings and messing something up. And then ultimately, we have quizzes built into the content that allow for review and reinforcement to make sure that they're learning those tasks and can put it to use. The portal allows for, as I mentioned, the ability to create content and publish it, but it also has, customizable branding and such that allows it to really become integrated within your organization as the go-to place for that content. We have a built-in Active Directory sync capability as well as single sign-on capability, all to enhance that ease of use for those users getting into it. And then, we talked about the Knowledge Smart, but there are also additional third-party learning content packages available for third-party, and we'll talk about a couple of those at the end, but for things like Microsoft Office, some of the Adobe content, McNeil content, and things like that. So, the system has a very simple user interface. As you can see by the first picture on the screen here, you can apply customized branding. Users can create work groups that allow a user to create teams or a project team and can share important content across those, as well as the ability to, like I mentioned before, being reporting, and we'll drill into the reports here in a minute as well. So you can pull data out of the system. If you have an internal HR structure or software package that you use for managing employees, you can export data and possibly even utilize the API to create a direct link so that you can pull data out of the system and keep track of it if you have a separate system. So to kind of tie this all together, when we were talking, I've been talking about helping with not only the onboarding process, but a step before that. How do I assess, engage these candidates to find out if they are, have the right skill set to be able to fit into the organization? Part of the Productivity Now system with the Knowledge Smart Edition allows you to directly assign an assessment to a user from within our platform, have that user get sent an email that will basically take them directly into a graphical interpretation of the tool where they answer questions, complete an assessment, and these assessment questions with the Knowledge Smart subscription, we get access to all of the standard content from Knowledge Smart, as well as if you have very customized or very specific skills that you want to make sure that they're aware of or have some type of background with, you can create customized questions for that. And the questions can be anything from multiple choice, yes, no, true, false, to places where they have to download an actual CAD model, complete some type of steps, and then answer the question. So it's a very flexible platform and gives a great deal of ease of use because it's like I said, it's delivered via the web and can be done very quickly. And then ultimately on the back end, in addition to having the results get pushed back into Productivity Now, you have access to the entire reporting engine that's built into the Knowledge Smart system. So you can go in and look and compare your users, compare your new hires maybe, or your potential new hires to the knowledge level of your existing user base. Is there a correlation? Is there a big gap that we're going to have to address? Things like that that can really help narrow down, I've got 3 candidates, I like them all, who's the right one? And again, it's not the answer all, solve all, but it can be a very powerful piece of information for your hiring manager to help determine where they go. I mentioned, I just hit on the user interface again. It's very clean, it's fast, and every piece of content available within the system is at the user's fingertips simply by doing a search, or they can browse through the tree and drill into the piece of content that they want. Everything's organized by product, by version, and then keyword linked and such from there. we talked a bit about the content. So I'm going to, the next couple of slides, I want to just give you a little example of the type of content that you can see. So as I said, we address multiple layers of learning. So we give access to the written content with pictures and graphics and everything integrated into the learning piece, as well as integrated in video content, so they get that live instructor feel, helping to explain the process and demonstrate what they need to do. And then written practice exercises. And these practice exercises out of our content are detailed step-by-step, so a user can follow these instructions and put it to use, and then do a secondary example or a secondary practice to further enhance that as well. And then I mentioned the practice quizzes. In addition, and I'm going to back up one slide here, I didn't mean to go forward quite yet. When you link the Knowledge Smart assessment to the e-learning content, so within when you assign the e-learning course, you have a control to say, do I want the learning path to be customized that's linked to that quiz, so that when the user comes back into Productivity Now, they will only be presented with the items that they missed. So as you can see here, there's, this is chapter 10, and there's 10 items here. If they got the questions right for all the pipe portion of it, those items would be grayed out and hidden from them. So the user can very quickly be presented and again, learn and address those skill gaps instead of having to go through redundant content that they already know and they've proven they've known it. The other area that we mentioned before is every user has, or every company has, the ability to create content, publish content within the system. We provide several out-of-the-box workflows that are standardized processes that, based on customer input, we believe this is how the tool is used most often. You as an organization and the managers within it can go into that content, customize and make a copy of it for yourself, and say your process skips one of these steps, or you need to add in a step or two. All the content is there for you to be able to customize and make it your own, or if our process is what you need, to follow our steps. The value there, again, like I said, is that consistency, and I can assure that a new user is using a similar process to someone that's been in the organization for several years and gone through that. I touched a bit on the reporting engine. This is just a very quick sample of the graphical dashboard that managers have access to, that you can see how much time a user is using the system. I can see what courses they're through. And behind each one of these reports is an extensive detail of all of the details behind it. And every one of these can be exported out to Excel, to a CSV file, or like I said, we have clients that are linking it via an API directly to a back-end system so that they can take that data and, if you have an existing HR process for, certain requirements for moving up the org structure and things like that. This slide is a little out of date. We keep publishing. We're publishing new courses and new content on a monthly basis, but you can kind of get a feel for, this is just the Ascent-based content that's in the system. These are the formal, what we consider the official training guides, and it's the content that we utilize in our classroom training as the baseline for most of our classes, as well as most of the Autodesk authorized training centers around North America. In addition, there's a ton of additional video learning libraries available, covering a lot of the newer, like BIM 360, that maybe doesn't have a formal book out quite yet, things like that, in additional content, as well as learning materials related to our utilities and items like that. The Knowledge Smart subscription, as I said, it is by far the most common add-on to our system. We're seeing almost every client utilize that because of the value it adds, not just in the beginning at finding new employees, not just at measuring existing employees and helping guide a learning program, but also because of the value it can bring in keeping those users more productive by not presenting them or forcing them to go through redundant material that they already know. Here's a short list of additional optional e-learning content that we have available, and there are new items being, like I said, being brought to this list on a regular basis. Currently, the Microsoft, Adobe, a OSHA-based health and safety library, and McNeil content are the primary ones, and like I said, there's a couple more vendors that are coming in a short time frame. So everybody always at this point is going, well, this is great. I really love it, but I don't know if I can afford a solution like this. This seems really, like it's going to be expensive. We have been very aggressive in our pricing with this in that we believe this is a huge value to our clients, but at the same time, we know that everybody has a limited budget, and we're not trying to go out there and make $1 million off every customer. So the way the system is priced is based on the number of CAD users, so the number of the Autodesk software users in your organization, and literally for as cheap as 48 cents a day in some of the right configuration, we're finding that companies are getting a very positive ROI on that with as little as 16% of their user base gaining a half hour of productivity a week. Based on customer surveys, based on talking to clients, we're finding that almost everybody is gaining that type of productivity just for the fact of, previously, when a user had a question or an issue, they went to their buddy next to them, and then they went to my power user, and then they went to who knows where to get the answer, search Google for a while. And ultimately, the amount of time wasted in a single issue is typically far over a half hour, especially when you start adding up, that they interrupted 2 or 3 other people in the organization looking for that same answer. So, I'm a little ahead of schedule, but Cassie, at this point, I'd really like to open it up for Q&A. One thing I will note, you'll notice that there's a Pinnacle Series logo on this last slide. The platform that we are using for the system is based on Eagle Point's Pinnacle Series learning platform, and then we've supplemented it in, like I said, with the Ascent content and content that's being created by our consulting team, which is well over 100 members strong today. Everybody is creating content and publishing it within the system.